I'm excited to cover this topic as I feel it's increasingly important and relevant to many of us in the technology world. Whether your title has the capital letters C and O in it, or if your title is junior developer, we are all affected by pseudo design. The good thing is we can do something about it. We live in a world of rapid application development tools and processes that allow faster times to market, but also open new opportunities for risk in the form of pseudo design. In this webinar, we'll look at the rise and risks associated with pseudo design, instead ensuring you recognize when the quality of your products is at risk. We'll then equip you with the knowledge of how to reduce this on your team in product releases, regardless of the role you play in your company. Hi, I'm Chelsea Waldheim. Kelly already mentioned that. I will be walking you through this webinar today. Including my time as Experienced Design Practice Lead at Corp, I've been designing positive experiences with technology for over 8 years. From startups to top Fortune-ranked companies, I've worked with a range of teams and technologies, which also means I've worked through a variety of challenges which shape my perspective on what makes for successful teams, products, and ultimately user-centric design. My career has taken some unique pivots from roots in marketing and product design to advanced custom front-end development in e-commerce, all the way to full-stack development and solution design with Salesforce, the world's leading CRM. And now to a combination of roles with one focus, providing the best experiences for our clients and promoting creativity throughout teams. In addition to our Corp social information here, you can find me on LinkedIn by searching for Chelsea Waldheim. Okay, let's get started with a design success story. We love those. So one of my favorites, Amazon is a huge proven success in customer experience and ROI, which, if you know anything about, can be a pretty heated topic. Owner Jeff Bezos has answered critics defending his stance on long-term thinking when investing in user experience, saying, "If we take a long-term view, the interests of customers and shareholders align." His victory in the fight for UX has placed his company as one of the top worldwide retailers and pioneers for multi-device immersive experiences to date. Let's do a little exercise that requires you to recall some of your own experiences. This should be an easy one because most of us have Amazon installed on our phones. In fact, I bet over half of us have purchased something in the last month, if not week. I know I made my last purchase at like 4 a.m. on Tuesday because I needed another tablecloth for a party we're throwing. I mean, if that's not dependence, I don't know what is. Recall the last purchase you made with Amazon. What was it for? Were you on your phone browsing? Or did an intelligent email recommend a new product because something in your cart went out of stock, piquing your interest? Have you ever done a return? It's so easy today. You can pop over to a shipping store and drop off the item with the scan of a QR code. No typing or packaging required from you. These are all larger experiences exceeding our expectations. So let's think back about some basic screen elements like search. Even something so basic as search and the search bar, Amazon has intricately considered how to best support users to find items they need. Whichever example you can relate to, chances are you've had a positive experience shopping with Amazon and can connect with its brand on many multi-device immersive levels. We're going to talk about one very important risk for applications and product teams that can prohibit amazing experiences like Amazon, and instead how you can get back on the path to success if you're at risk. If you work in technology, you might have heard someone say, while apologetically rolling their eyes, "Yeah, this was designed by a developer." Today, we're going to look at the work of Ralph the developer, and instead of critiquing some of his not-so-creative choices and coding interfaces, we're going to look at how we can help him. We're also going to look at the context in which he's working, which is under pressure to build a rapid application. Then we'll work to provide Ralph the right team and best practice tools to improve his design in ways to obtain the ever so awesome user experience. So what is pseudo design and why is it so risky? Pseudo design is the act of skipping from requirement to implementation, just like shown here, without a validated design plan. It's the absence of design thinking, which is critically weighing solution design with a user-centric and persona-based mindset. In other words, pseudo design is building an application without full consideration of end users. Like Ralph, it's often produced by non-creative individuals without oversight from a designer with a specific plan. Unfortunately, this is increasingly common today. We'll look at how rapid application development tools are making it easier for non-design oriented developers to play the role of designer. We'll look at the reality of what being designed by a developer can look like, and how the responsible team can pick up and reinsert the design thinking process to get well-designed apps back on track. One small side note I wanted to insert here, I'm a total advocate for creativity and the creative process. This is not to say that developers can't be designers or that developers aren't creative, because heck, I'm a developer, but both require specific strengths. This webinar will hopefully equip even the leanest development team with foundations to improve their design. In this webinar, we'll cover the rapid development landscape, introducing RAD, and how the rapid mindset provides context for increased pressure on teams, which can result in pseudo design. Next, we'll walk through examples of pseudo design with iterations and some of the industry's leading low-code platform tools. We'll then provide insights for you to help identify and mitigate your own pseudo design challenges. And finally, we'll recap our findings, giving you a digestible summary to take back and apply. In this section, we'll cover the rapid development landscape, introducing the Rapid Application Development Model, or RAD, and its influences on modern development expectations. We'll reference industry-leading tools and finish with the advantages and risks of rapid development in pseudo design. Whether you refer to RAD as a model or a methodology, this insightful concept came about in the early 90s as a way to improve speed of software development, encouraging fast time to market, and improved user feedback between development cycles. Today, Professor Clifford Kittenborough of the University of Redlands defines rapid application development as an approach to building computer systems, which combines computer-assisted software engineering tools and techniques, user-driven prototyping, and stringent project delivery time limits into a potent, tested, reliable formula for top-notch quality and productivity. RAD drastically raises the quality of finished systems while reducing the time it takes to build them. We'll clarify how quality is typically improved from rapid development and the pros and cons list later. As we uncover the increased pressure to churn out software releases and need for more highly specialized teams can result in cutting out creative talent or removing user-centric design processes altogether, which can bring us to the resulting pain of pseudo design. If you're an old timer, you may be familiar with the acronym WYSIWYG. It's kind of just fun to say, to be honest. If not, it's an old term which stands for what you see is what you get. Nowadays, that translates into drag and drop software interfaces with available tools and components for building applications. At Corp, we specialize in industry-leading tools for rapid development, all of which continue to make Gartner's top list for low-code application platforms. We have specialty practice areas for Salesforce, OutSystems, and Microsoft, including Power Apps, all listed here. Our experienced design teams use rapid prototyping tools as an additional means for custom development RAD prototype support, like UXPen, Adobe XD, and others. Now that we've named some industry-leading tools that can be used for RAD, you may be wondering when the most logical use cases are for choosing RAD over a traditional waterfall or heavier custom development approach. Most commonly, RAD is an appropriate choice for projects needing to supplement the team or desire to have a faster time to market. Some less common use cases that are still powerful are to prove out a functionality, as a method for obtaining product feedback before delivering a final application, or as quick methods to plug in components to pre-existing systems. In a recent client, we used an OutSystems app as an interim prototype and were able to drastically improve the user experience for the final product rollout. We did all of this while also providing a database method to capture form data during the interim period, which helps with the business operations not skip a beat. That's pretty awesome. Final thing to note, low-code platforms are chock full of pre-built connectors for integrations to external applications, making component development fast and integrations a much lighter lift for you and your dev teams. These connectors are maintained by third parties, so as new releases come out, you can trust that your original integration development will be supported, giving you peace of mind. If for any very rare occasion that backwards compatibility is not supported, you typically will get plenty of notice with instructions on what to expect and what to change in the upcoming release. Why are people using RAD? Understandably, it's super popular. We've seen lots of success with it at Corp, both for full-scale enterprise applications and for beta testing functionality in a complex multi-phase rollout approach. RAD can have the following benefits. It can cut down, RAD can have the following benefits. It can cut down development time and increase speed to market. It can improve user feedback loops by gathering feedback from quickly released cycles of the application. And finally, it can require smaller teams. Whether or not you are using low-code platforms to develop applications, this mindset of rapid development provides pressure for most modern dev teams to be done quick. And this is great, but it's also producing flaws that we're going to talk about. So quicker doesn't always equate to better, as we'll show with some interface examples in the next section of this presentation. Next, as RAD platform tools continue to release new features and certifications, using them typically requires a higher skilled or more specialized team, which can get costly and cut into the budget for other affordances like design resources. With rapid timelines, design decisions become even more important to get right the first time, or else lack of experience can produce design considerations that have heavy impact to the scalability and increased future maintenance. Additionally, while components are fabulous and the future of development, without a good game plan, design system, and resources at the table, components run the risk of appearing separate, as in not connected to the rest of the experience in the application, which can disrupt user flow. If abstracted too far, components' usefulness and dynamic reusability can be lost. From all of this, the mindset of rapid development has evolved, setting expectations for timelines and delivery. Of course, people want things faster. That makes complete sense. With new technology that is drag and drop, the learning curve to begin development has lowered, which means things can be delivered quicker. it also means that teams need to be more highly skilled with experience that comes over time in making scalable architecture decisions for their components. One more thing to cover with a rapid mindset is the similarity between rapid development and innovation's favor towards failing fast. If you're new to the concept of failing fast, it basically means to fail early and often, which is similar to iterating in RAD terms, to collect and include feedback until success is met. In my opinion, this speed is fantastic as long as caution is taken in making a quality plan and taking a critical eye towards the plan from the user's perspective. In this section, we'll walk through some examples of pseudo design in the context of our favorite low-code platforms, and then iterate through some designs to get them back on track. So as a recap, pseudo design, which is bad, is the lack of planning and can be considered opposite of design thinking. Due to easy-to-use drag-and-drop interfaces in RAD technology, it's enabling more developers to become their own designers. We need to ensure they understand the risk of making decisions without a user-centric design to guide them. While the foundation of UX is understanding users' needs, here we lay out the challenge to exceed and shape them. What a better way than to educate on the foundations of good design? This example is adapted from the Interaction Design Foundation, and it illustrates the objective of excellent user experience is not only to meet, but exceed and shape your customers' experiences within an application. A customer here could be internal or an external user. So, looking on the left, getting to that first step is already a bit of a challenge. To meet users' expectations, we must have developed a product that is easy to use, simple to navigate, and we must have prioritized building features that provide users with basic functions to meet their objectives on a site or product. As an example, let's say the e-commerce site has a product catalog and a shopping cart for us to meet our basic needs of purchasing a product. To set that up a bit, an experience exceeds expectations if it serves up functionality in an intuitive way and reduces potential frictions for users, making it enjoyable to use. Sometimes exceeding expectations can include feedback loops, whether providing confirmation to users in a positive way, like saying your purchase will be shipped on time in X number of days, or asking for feedback to show you care, starting a dialogue of sorts with your application site or system. You might have gotten a follow-up email after making a purchase from a retailer asking you how to rate and provide feedback on your most recent purchase. This exceeds expectations because you are reducing pains for the user with an intuitive design, building trust and credibility by providing valuable information, or you might be pulling the user into a more meaningful relationship with your site, application, or system by letting them join the conversation with providing feedback. Finally, experiences that shape expectations take time and tend to be multi-channel or multi-device and result from time spent as a user within the community of your application, site, or system that's established. This is more heavily related to a branding effort than a single prototype version of a rapid app, but it's important to place the North Star in the sky as we spark creative ideas. Each of the decisions we make from components, the flow of an application, and other small pieces of functionality add up to either enable or block exceptional experiences like shown in this journey. This RAD example using Microsoft Power Apps was an internal proof of concept or POC built without design guidance and approved for the use of this presentation. We'll use this prototype to apply design best practices and show an iterative process to transform it into an application that exceeds expectations. I have to start off by saying, so far, it's not so bad. There are clear, distinct screens, action buttons are easy to find, And there's even images and icons to add to the intuitive nature of the design. But let's look a little more critically at how this has telltale signs of pseudo design. Often, you'll find home pages with multiple buttons that require users up front to make decisions on what to do next. The reality is, we all have so many things going on that whenever we open an app, not for it to be frustrating, it needs to give us something useful as a user and something that's dynamically changing right away, not require us to take the first step. Another area you might notice is room for improvement with interaction flow. Past the home screen, one of the first questions I often ask is, how do I get back home? When iterating through flow decisions, consider what top priority actions a user has and prioritize the accessibility of those things accordingly. A third thing you'll see pretty quickly is design inconsistencies. I'll be the first to say this looks pretty awesome already. In case your eyes aren't quite trained yet, look closely at font selection, the case type decisions made for title versus content versus action, as in, are things consistently in uppercase versus camel case, and color palette. So a little snippet here. There are 16 million different web color codes, and most people don't know that. If you are relying on your naked eye to pick a color, chances are you're slightly off, especially if you're trying to match something else. Finally, a telltale sign of pseudo design is a 30,000-foot view of asking, does it make sense? And I don't know if you've noticed in our name, but we're all about things that make sense, pun intended. This next example, showcasing OutSystems, another industry-leading rapid app platform we use daily, we'll talk through decisions made to improve the experience. First, let's critique the mock-up on the left for pseudo design. This one has fabulous use of color and lots of imagery to begin. It has a clear use of font and alignment, but if you think critically, what is it missing? Depending on your branding and available screen real estate, using a full sentence like, it's a great day to sell insurance, may be applicable, or it may just be fluff. You may realize these 6 different icon buckets are essentially 6 buttons repeating the pseudo design telltale sign I mentioned in the last app. You may also think, given some context of what this is trying to accomplish, wait, do I have more than one user group trying to use this audience, or trying to use this app? Let's jump to the first prototype iteration that was rapidly built using OutSystems templates and drag and drop interface. Just looking at the home screen, we've improved the experience by personalizing it for the agent and providing dynamic, important to read numbers right off the bat. This means they can open the app and already have eyeballs on something important to them, indicating whether or not they need to dig deeper to get more detail. Also, we move the concept of alerts to follow a more intuitive design pattern in iOS, away from needing their own homepage button, but using the red bubble icon with a numerical count to indicate how much work we have to do, or ignore doing if you're one of those people that has a lot of red bubbles. We've also surfaced more relevant information to begin splitting out the context of customer management. On the final iteration, shown on the right, we show some best practice design steps we'll cover more in the next section, critiquing our alignment, simplicity, and interaction context for the app. The biggest improvements are in the ways of graphic design choices and adding functionality of managing most recent customers or onboarding new customers at the top of our application. Let's look at the overall improved app design next. While this may be a fun play on words, if you are iterating user feedback and intentionally improving the application's design, you're on the right track to mitigate pseudo design. One more example, Salesforce, is a fantastic low-code platform that heavily utilizes a design system called Lightning Design System, or LDS, to reduce the risk of poor design. Design systems are helpful for large or separated teams, or in this case, a worldwide set of users. Design systems often include predefined icons, typography, font, spacing, and common component templates. Whether you're dragging components into a Lightning page for an application, using components available in the community builder, or developing a custom Lightning component, it's easy to reference the same Lightning design system that the product developers at Salesforce use to build the platform itself. The accessibility and complete documentation of Salesforce's Lightning design system makes it a lower risk tool for poor design. Now that we've seen some examples on various RAD platforms, let's walk through some key team roles and design best practices to help mitigate your risk of pseudo design. So you already know your team is critical to success. In this slide, we'll build out more team roles important to support Ralph the developer from our intro. A few key roles essential to support proper design thinking and planning versus skipping from requirements to implementation are the organizer, the creative, the validator who appears to be testing out some VR technology today, and our developer, who we've already met, but will clarify things he can do to look to others in order to be more successful. Breaking these out, a person playing a good organizer takes special care in ensuring alignment throughout the process. He works with stakeholders to uncover their strategy and helps ensure decisions they're making for the project are scalable with long-term objectives. He may help coordinate release cycles after features have been prioritized with user research and planning in mind. Let's move on to the creative, who is our double-duty researcher and designer in this example. She may run workshops to collect feedback, go through a series of exercises to group multiple users and better understand how to group their objectives before creating a package of personas or a feature map. Once she's built the guidelines and understands the users, she'll play an active role in working with the team to iterate through wireframes, making sure they fit the technical capability and the individual level of effort for features is feasible. She'll continue to refine a design system to provide Ralph, our developer, as mock-up decisions are made. Moving on, the validator will check wireframes against personas and user priorities, making sure biased decisions don't influence the design and opportunities aren't missed. He'll help with testing development against the design and may be the individual responsible for collecting user feedback to incorporate in the next cycle if improvements can be made. Finally, in addition to his main development, Ralph will now be provided with a design system, making his development faster and more consistent on the front end. In any case, if he has concerns with the flow of functionality or some business knowledge questions, he'll take back to the team and get answers fast before continuing development. He'll also manage iterative code releases, working with the organizer's timeline. While these roles can be broken out further, each has key tasks which are important in conducting successful user-centric design. Now we'll talk through some guidelines for our team to be successful. Personas, mentioned before this slide, and the creative person's tasks are a fabulous way to ensure alignment across stakeholders and ensure consistency in meeting your design goals. To build them, you first collect information from many different users. You may decide to interview only one main user group, or separate them and collect information from other uncommon user groups, like those of secondary importance, or users impacted by association, like a spouse of a person making travel plans, who is still part of the process but not the physical user in front of the computer. You'll summarize findings into personas, which are these made-up profile-like things, including goals, frustrations, and other factors unique to your needs and research. Once you've created a package of 2 to 7 or 8 personas, never more than that, or it can get out of hand, you'll get stakeholder sign-off and reference these as your baseline for meeting your users' needs. These will drive your feature prioritization and should be used regularly to validate design. In RAD multi-cycle processes, you may continue to edit personas as applicable. The key thing here is, don't assume you know what your users want, what their frustrations are, or what their preferences are. We are all complex beings, and building great experiences starts with knowing who your users are. Another key is to consider the flow of an application from the user's perspective. You've probably heard about counting clicks before. To start understanding your flow, you can create a site map or click count map that shows how difficult it is for users to access their goals, whether buying a product, submitting a form, etc. You get the idea. When working through wireframes and prototyping, it's important to lay out a map like this to define global navigation needs versus local ones and find ways to improve the flow. Of course, we say simplify, simplify, simplify where possible. Let's look at tried and true keys to improving application design. A good design always includes a strong foundation. You'd be surprised how alignment and consistent sizing can drastically change the usability and experience of an application. Next, look at your designs with a critical eye. How can you simplify? Are any elements redundant or unnecessary, adding clutter? Do they all fit within your design system? Next, beautify with powerful graphics. Now, I tend to not be a big fan of this word when it relates to UI UX because it oversimplifies the effort required to produce quality graphics and imagery, but using it as a quick summary term here, intentionally monitoring your graphics for improvements is a really important step. Often the difference between a high-selling e-commerce site that has undeniable credibility and a sticky factor versus the average, not-so-compelling site or application is the visual, how well the visual story and graphic elements play together. Finally, bonus point, if you capture and share your elements in a design system, which sets standards for your future designs and makes the job for the developer easier by taking out the guesswork so he or she can build a more scalable system. Design systems and standards not only make the developer's job easier, they help create boundaries for designers too. So they are less likely to start using a different type of padding or change their mind when they get inspired. Instead, it helps everyone produce consistency, which timelines and end users appreciate. Remember our Power App example? Let's build a stronger foundation for this design using improved spacing or alignment and font selection. In recreating this screen in our prototyping tool of choice today, Adobe XD, we made a few minor tweaks to grab the accurate hex color codes for elements like headers and buttons while we were doing our first iteration of improving this app. Did you know there are somewhere north of 16 million hex color codes available for web? Wait, now you do, because I've said it already. This is a commonly overlooked no-no when designers pick colors with their naked eye. Please don't do it now that you know about it. We reduced the fonts used across the app to one for super simplicity's sake, but are still using different versions, whether semi-bold for inner title, bold for headers, or regular for detailed areas. Finally, while it may seem minor, we made big changes in the consistency of our margins, where before many different forms of left alignment were used. This improved speed for usability and promotes an overall sense of organization, producing calm and reducing friction for users. In this next version, we reevaluated the location of selected attendees versus existing and simplified the concept of managing users down to one icon versus two different types of action buttons that say remove all or remove last user. We also adjusted the header font spacing and action to coordinate with the design patterns and other screens, which we'll see in just a moment. In this last iteration, we adjusted the details on a finer level. As we mentioned in the steps up to a user experience that meets and exceeds expectations, we found an opportunity for more functionality to provide feedback with a schedule conflict alert. We adjusted the repeated delete icon to use a swiping interaction similar to native mobile design. All right, now that we've worked through some iterations using our basic design best practices and are looking at two screens now, you may notice the biggest improvements were to reduce confusion of restricting attendee management to one location instead of on both screens, indicated by the orange box with buttons before. We included native mobile design patterns and a user feedback alert when an attendee has a conflict, providing them the opportunity to remove the individual. In our second screen, we've moved similar functionality to filters and are including helpful feedback with the capacity metric for rooms available if we know the number of attendees attending in that meeting. Both have similar margins, headings, and are on their way to being a much better designed application, easier for users. After the basics of good design, a final key to consider in mitigating pseudo design is to look for ways to optimize user feedback with context and error messages. This reduces the need for extensive training, helps set the expectation for time remaining in a process so users aren't left frustrated, and if inserted in a proactive way, error messages like warnings for conflicts can empower users to make better choices before prompting the ever so annoying error message. When optimizing the user interaction with your design, the context of your application can be very helpful. Pagination or pagination, for example, is very useful for logical lists of information and can be used in combination with alphabetized sorters or drop-downs to change list view size, turning back the power to the hands of the users and how they want to logically sort their data. Scroll content, on the flip side, versus content which is broken out into lists, is more useful for educational purposes or creating a journey with the content users are scrolling through. Scrolling can also be a huge experience design opportunity because you have the opportunity to use interactive graphics, creating the depth of the perception of depth on the screen. All are super creative opportunities. One last thing to note is while getting carried away with optimizing interactions in your app, always make sure you invest in creativity wisely. If your main persona's top goal is to be able to easily access this one action, don't bury it in a long scroll environment. Keep counting clicks and evaluating objectives by validating your design against your personas. In this last section, we'll provide questions you can ask to identify or avoid pseudo design using real-world scenario scripts of what risk sounds like versus what a good solution should sound like. First, we'll walk through the questions you ask regardless of your role in the company to help you identify or mitigate pseudo design. Then we'll have a "you're at risk if" type of scenario statement, followed by a checkmark statement, which is to say, instead, you should be asking. So the first of our four main questions: what skill sets do my team members have? Who is my designated creative? And do they have the stakeholder support they need? So if you hear a person saying, "My developer knows how to put buttons on a page and generally knows his way around," that's enough. Instead, try, "How can I support a design process for a more successful project? Can my team do this with our existing resources, or do they need help?" Second of our 4 main questions. Have I prioritized the goals of my solution to fit my users' needs? If you hear the game plan or what I can gather from it, fit objectives my executive team agreed upon 18 months ago, I'm sure it's fine. Instead, try, who are our users? Do we maybe need to consider a broader strategy and approval process so we stop building apps that only fit our today or 18-month ago goals? Third, how strong is the foundation of my design? If you hear, "Who really cares what it looks like? I can make selections on the page or put something in a cart," my basic objectives are met, and that's all I care about. I mean, it kind of looks like different pages or forms thrown together, but whatever. Instead, try asking, do we have usage research or usage data? Or have we received feedback on how usable our application is? Should we consider a design system so things turned out can look more cohesive? Finally, am I meeting areas for modern interaction expectations with this product? You know it's risky if we typically take a week or more to do end user training and have massive documentation for when people don't remember which actions are kind of sticky. Well, we have lots of one-off processes. Our business logic is so unique, the whole thing takes a manual. Instead, try to help by saying, how can I support more business process discovery so our application, website, or system is built with more cohesion and less one-offs in mind? I hope those questions and scenarios were helpful, or at least made you think seriously about a few ways your team may be operating today. Now let's wrap up by summarizing key takeaways we hope you gathered from this webinar. First, in addition to Amazon, design-centric companies continue to prove successful. The data for this graph, pulled from the Design Management Institute, shows companies including Apple, Coca-Cola, and IBM focusing on design outperform the S&P index or industry average performance by 228% over a 10-year period. The key to implementing similar success is to begin as early as possible to reduce development time and maintenance of the solution required, and finally, develop a strategy to grow your user experience from plain Jane to meeting, exceeding, and then hopefully one day shaping your customers' expectations. Second takeaway, don't fall in the trap of lazy design or pseudo design on the apps, sites, and programs you're investing precious dollars into. Chances are, if your developers are skipping straight to being quote-unquote button decision makers, then you know you're at risk and things need to change. My hope is, if you hear a technical specific resource saying this quote, it now causes you a little bit of heartburn and instead makes you think about ways you can help by looking at the team and overall project planning to ensure its success. Which brings me to my next takeaway. The first step to success is self-evaluation. You can and should be empowered to critically look in the mirror to understand your strengths and weaknesses in the area of design. If the team's daunting, remember these questions we provided. Who is on my team? Am I prioritizing my users' goals and my development plan and wireframes? How strong is the foundation of my design? How is the interaction setting expectations for my users? This all leads me to finish with a friendly reminder that we are here to help. Not only do we specialize in agile delivery, RAD technologies, and lean UX, there are many other activities we can engage in order to kick off a discovery of your pseudo design risk and strategy towards a successful design. We hope you found today
Chelsea,
useful.
I think you might have cut out. Are you still there?
Hi, yes, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Oh, that's odd. I'm still here. I don't know if my signal. Can you hear me better now? Hi, Kelly. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry, I think it was me that dropped.
Oh, okay. No problem. Bill, that's great timing, actually, because we were at the end. I was just reminding everyone that we're just a click away. And then I was going to check with you to see if we had any quick questions that we could address from the webinar.
Yes, thank you so much. That was really helpful. Yeah, if anybody on the line has any questions, feel free to type them in. There are a few that came in during the presentation, so I will go ahead and go through. Okay, first one. Chelsea, do RAD dev tools other than Salesforce not come with design? I know you spoke highly of Salesforce, so just check.
Sure. You might have cut out there. Could you repeat that first part of the question?
Sure. Do RAD dev tools other than Salesforce not come with design systems?
Ah, okay, yeah. That question makes a lot of sense. So I tend to speak really highly of Salesforce. I've been using it for a long time. I think it's a fabulous platform. But that's not to say that other RAD tools don't also come with design systems or components that have some consistent and basic styling to support the rapid development that we were discussing in this presentation. What I would say is it's really important to evaluate the tools that you are going to use to build your rapid app if you're considering building one. And we have an awesome team that can help you evaluate the different features as you make a decision. They all are wonderful and come with different advantages.
Great, thank you. I know some people are having a hard time hearing me. I'm not sure what's going on. So hopefully, Chelsea, there's one more question. Let me see if you can hear this. Okay, what about wireframe designs that are suggesting we build something that's not supported by standard templates?
Oh, okay. Yeah, another great question. So this can happen a lot. As designers, it's easy to get carried away with all the exciting things that you want to build. But it's kind of a two-way street. So it's important that you select designers or have a design team that both continue to stay up to date with the different RAD platforms that you're using, as they're always releasing new things. So they know that they are designing something that coordinates with what can be rapidly produced on the platform. But almost all of the RAD platforms support some plugging in of custom code, or like referencing custom code libraries and things. So that two-way street kind of concept is, you know, your designers or design team need to stay educated and up to date, but also have that open dialogue with the dev team and your solution architects as well. So making sure that while they're making some design decisions, especially whenever you get in the areas of designing overall navigation flow, those things can have big implications. I would just say it's important to keep the dialogue open and continue to build a strong team.
All right, thank you. We do have a few minutes left here, but I do not see any other questions. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Thank you all for attending, and thank you so much, Chelsea, for this great content. I want to remind everyone that you will be receiving a follow-up email later today with a link to the recording and some information on some blog posts from us. If you have any additional questions, feel free to email me directly at marketing@sensecorp.com. And again, thank you and enjoy your Friday.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.